snapshot of what old time jamming looks like, I think, which is a little bit different. So I highlighted some of those differences here. There's a lot less transposition for two reasons. Number one, there's less songs. It's usually fiddle tunes. It's sort of the opposite of bluegrass in that respect. In many of the jams, there's a lot less transposition, even more so because many of the jams, some jams are specifically A-tune jams, or D-tune jams, or G-tune jams, and that's because fiddles often use what's called cross-tuning, where they change the tuning of their instrument to A-E-A-E, meaning they switch the bottom two strings up a whole step, or that same iteration where the E string is moved down to a C sharp. Sometimes they move the top two strings down to G, D, G, D. And even the G string can go as low as a D note, as the E note. This is a D tuning. That's sometimes you hear. Banjos also use alternate or modal tunings, and because of the lots of tuning involved for that, at a lot of these jams, they stay in the key of A or the key of D for a good hour or more before switching. So that's good to know, because if you're in a jam, you don't want to call a tune in a different key than they're already in, or people will be like, "Well, we're in A," and you'll think that they're being mean or whatever, but it's really just that, it's a lot of effort. So you try to stay until the leader says we're switching keys. You try to stay in the same key. You probably knew this, but rather than solos, the tune is just played all the melody all together until you see whoever's leading the song put the foot up, which is the same as in bluegrass music. Jams tend to be bigger because you don't have solos, so you can have everybody playing the melody. Concentric circles you probably saw in that video. Usually the inner circle are the people that are calling the tunes or leading the tunes, keeping the tempo nice and strong, and everybody else is welcome to join on the outer circles. And usually they get pretty big, and there's a lot of people that are just kind of like trying to pick up the melody or strumming along on the outside. But because there's a lot of people playing the melody, it's not really a big deal to have a big old-time jam. In fact, it's sometimes better. Huge repertoire of tunes. Often they're regional, so people in one part of the country will know a certain set of tunes while others will know another one. And others are generational, so the young people will know a certain set of tunes and older people will know a certain set of tunes. I recommend if you go to an old-time jam that you have something like this, this is a list of all the tunes I know. So this is actually my kind of total repertoire, which I don't have fully updated, but you see that as I've labeled bluegrass instrumentals, I didn't put the keys because bluegrass musicians are generally more okay switching keys because they do it all the time for songs, right? But in an old-time jam, I have them structured by the key, so that like if I go to an A jam, I'm thinking of a set of tunes that are all in A. And you'll notice that some of these are crossover tunes, so some of them are going to be played in both bluegrass and old-time circles. Of these here, this one's a crossover tune. This one's a crossover tune. That's kind of a crossover tune, but mostly old-time. This kind of a crossover tune. Definitely a crossover tune. Definitely a crossover tune. Also a crossover tune. This sometimes, even this one. In D here, this is definitely a crossover tune. Meaning, when I say crossover, I mean played in both an old-time and bluegrass jams. This one tends to be. Both of these, actually. Definitely this one. This one, for sure. Definitely this one. For G tunes, definitely that one. Definitely this one. Definitely this one. Probably the most common one would be Big Scioto. Yeah, and then waltzes are typically called more in old-time jams because waltzes are a part of the dance. If you have a contra dance or a square dance, they're going to put waltzes in the middle of there. So that's going to come up in a jam more often too because it's derived from the dance music.